All right. I think we are live. I think. Uh, so I hope that you guys can hear something. Hey, Nada. Nice to see you here too. Can you guys hear me? I'm also trying to go live on Instagram at the same time, so it's a little bit challenging. All right. Hey, Jonas. Welcome. Okay. Yeah, so sorry in advance already for my mic. I'm here at my parents' place and I forgot to bring my own mic. So it's going to be a bit of a crunchy microphone. So the update for today, instead of writing a long newsletter that nobody really wants to read, I thought I would summarize a few of the activities of this week and what has been happening, so people can refer or can see later what has been going on, and they don't have to read too much text. I specifically today wanted to mostly dive into the software because that's a new focus that I have after a interesting meeting. And then a brief update on the logistics, because the last video was on the circular logistics. And third of all, the fashion. That will be short because soon we'll have a big update, and that will be fun to see. So I just want to kind of tease already what's going on to get you guys up to speed, and then after that be able to dive deeper. So that will be for today. Let me switch to the next part. So here today, just to give a bit of background on the software. So when I talk about the software, the main thing here is that for companies who want to go circular, the challenge is that they need to rethink how they do this internally in a way that they're used to just producing. So they buy their raw materials, they make a product, and they sell it to their distributors, and their distributors sell it to the end consumers. But in the idea of closing the loop, the producer should remain the owner of all the products. And so they need to basically create a fleet management system because their products become a fleet of products that they have to use. And so they have to understand what is the value of the products, what are the value of the parts of the products, where are they, who is using them, how long have they been using them, when do they need to have an update. All of these things, they're quite weird compared to the standard way of producing. So I just have a few slides here to kind of show what the content is of the bigger vision. And what I've been doing now is trying to scale it down to a MVP, because this MVP will be the one to launch as soon as possible. I've now started with the wireframes, or it's very rudimental screens, so I'm kind of curious about how you guys see this and if you guys agree with the first scope. But in a bigger picture, so, oh shit, it's in Dutch, but here it should be okay. So basically here it's about 5 aspects. One part is a material engine. I'll get to that in a second. It's this asset or fleet management or ERP system. It's CRM, e-commerce, and warehouse and fulfillment. And so the main part here for the materials is the fact that, let me check if there's any questions or comments. No. So the main part here is that when you are entering all of your products, so say you have sunglasses and you want to offer this as a service. So you have circular sunglasses where it comprises out of 5 parts, and people who use your sunglasses as a service, they pay maybe €2 a month. And in this, they basically are able to use or lease your sunglasses. And so for you as a company, when you have 10 sunglasses, maybe it's not that important, but when you have 10 million sunglasses going around, you want to know what is the value of the materials that I have. I have so much kilograms of glass, so much kilograms of plastic, so much of the plastic I can reuse, so much of the reusable plastics is recyclable. And so we have to, if you have a lot of these materials, you want to know what is the current value, both on a product part. So what is the value of the product in its whole, but also on a part aspect. So you want to know if I have 10,000 left parts of the glasses, what is the value of this, and how long can I still use these? When do they have to be recycled, and what will be the cost of this? And so basically, this will be a part. A company that I'm working with, they're developing this together with Vito. It's a Belgian research company. But basically, here they're trying to figure out how can they use an engine that connects different polymers, for instance, with this lifetime cycle and financial value system. So this is one part. This is definitely something for the second horizon, not something for the first prototype. But this is the first thing to do. I mean, the main thing to focus on for creating value in the bigger companies. More straightforward, this is really going to be the core of the product. It's the asset management or the fleet management of your product. You basically have a product that needs to have a unique ID. So you'll have the product category of, for instance, the black sunglasses. But each black sunglasses, they might have like 100,000 going around. So each of that 100,000 also needs to have its own unique ID. And not only that, all of the parts that are in it also need to have their unique ID. And they will then be connected to the customer. So the system knows which customer has which product and which parts. So whenever something has to be done, such as maintenance or replacements, it will know which parts to exchange. And so whatever comes back to the factory can then be put back into the production chain. So this is basically traditional fleet management or ERP. Then the CRM, I mean, this is quite logical. It's just having a system to be able to interact with your customer, look for up and cross-sell possibilities, do payments, send payment reminders, all of this classic CRM stuff. Then the e-commerce, I mean, this is just your integration with either Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever the software is that you already use, or it can have its own standalone SaaS thing. But this is, of course, where it connects to the front end to the end consumer. And fifth of all is the warehouse and fulfillment. So this is where the connection is where normally you produce in bulk and then you just send it to the distributors and they sell it. Now you have to have it in your warehouse and you have to fulfill it. And especially when you have high rotating goods. So for instance, if Nespresso would be a part of this, their cups, they are used once, then they go back. If they would be reused, they also have to know how many are coming in, coming out, where are they going, or is anything coming back? So all of this combined with quality control. So for instance, for the sunglasses, of course, when it comes back from a customer, you have to figure out, is it working? Is it reusable? Is it recyclable? What is the current status? So you need this hybrid basically between these systems. Here I've started making some frames. So I have here a few frames for the admin and a few frames for the customer. And as I warned, it's very rudimental. So I've basically just per screen looked at a few reference screens, just kind of get some ideas on how to do this. And then kind of mosaicked my way into a screen. So here, this is for the admin being the brand, for instance, who would have their products as a circular product or as a service. So here, for the main part, I'm thinking that this part would be to focus on a general overview of how many members do I have, so how many subscribers to my services, what is our monthly revenue return, what is the current occupancy of my stock. So if you have some products in stock, you of course want to make sure that you use as much as possible that you already have produced. So here you would be able to kind of see in a glance, how much stock is available, how much is in total, and how much is in use. I mean, all of these are just random numbers, but that will be the main focus here. Then we have the financial overview. So here my idea would be, I mean, these are just some random things, but you would have to have your fixed costs. So this is basically your estimate of what are the costs that we have every single month, no matter what the sales are. We need the variable cost. So this is interdependent on the sales. And then we need the actual revenues on top of it. So basically here you could kind of see, whenever you have a slow month that it might dip into the cost. And so you have a bit of loss there, but it should, of course, over time grow separate from the cost. If your business is doing well. And I mean, here, I guess we can, add all kinds of extra things, different metrics here about your visitors, conversion rates, churn rate, I think is very important. So So that would be here the dashboard that you could use, where you have the dashboard, the orders, the products, the CRM, tickets. So whenever there's an issue, people can report a ticket, such as my product has not yet arrived, and reports. So here, hey, PW817. If you guys have any remarks or questions, just drop it in the comments so I can see it and answer. So the main thing here, of course, is just to get an overview of what's going on in your system. How are my products doing? How is my fleet doing in essence? So that's the main focus that we want to find here in the dashboard. So more interestingly, but more ugly as well, is the product overview. So here's basically where you can see, what are the products that we have in circularity or in circular use. Where we have to kind of see, okay, what's going on, how much of it is being used. And so here, my idea is basically that you would have a list view, but then more pretty like here with the graphic. And so in this list view, you should be able to see how much of these do I have in stock, how many are subscribed, and what is the MRR here per product category. And so here you would have the same type of stock occupancy in overall. But then there's also something interesting here, or interesting / complex, and that's the product health overview. And so I've tried to explain it here in text, but I'll try to explain just out loud in general. So here the thing is that when we have all of the products that are circular, they have a certain lifespan. So you could say, for instance, with the sunglasses, that all of the parts combined, that every 3 years the sunglasses have to be replaced because there might be too much usage, there might be too much friction in the mechanisms. Maybe the glasses have too many small cuts, whatever it is. But you would have to say that if a lifetime is 100%, how do we know when it is end of life? Because we need to have some type of categorization. So when it's near end of life, there's an automatic prompt saying, hey, this person with this type of glasses needs a new pair. And so I'm now thinking of categorizing here, saying, okay, so you have so many new products. So new meaning that it has not been used yet. Healthy means that it is within, if you would say it's 100%, it's 100% healthy, so new. So 100% to say 80% or 20%, so it has 80% of the entire life cycle, then it's healthy. So if it has just the first couple of years and months, it's all healthy. But then when it goes into the last 20%, you could say, okay, so when it still has 20% up until it has 10% left, then it should have this prompt of saying, hey, it needs to be replaced soon. And so at the end of life, whenever it has only 10% left, it really has to be changed, or things have to be done. So this means sending a prompt to the user saying, hey, you're about to receive a new shipment of, for instance, a sunglass. Are you ready for this? Is this still your right address? Whatever the system or whatever the queries are. So this could really help then the customers to see and manage their fleet of understanding when should what be replaced. Of course, this is then on a product level, which is possible, especially for some more simple products. But I think when we go one step deeper into like a product, and wow, this looks really messy, sorry for that. But of course, when you have a single product, so this is product ID number 123, this is his unique ID. He can have his health percentage, but of course, this health percentage is based on certain parts. So here in the bottom, we could see, for instance, here the left wing. This is at 35%. The left glass is at 63, and the right glass is also at 63. But they all need to have their own unique ID, and them combined would then make the overall product health meter. Okay, so Jonas is asking how much of this ideation comes from you versus market research collabs on this point. The good question. So I would say the vast majority is just from my own insight, especially now having to make these frames. I can see how difficult it actually is to make something that is coherent and easy to use. So I've been using this sunglasses. This is from a company called Yuma. they want to be a circular sunglass company. So they already have like a service where you can bring things back to them, and they have these separate parts. And the guy still has to call me back, but my idea is to work with them, for instance, as one of the first customers to do this circular aspect. So you would then have a subscription on your sunglasses. So it's basically thought through the sense of common sense, but then also my own experiences. But that's definitely going to be the process now of making these wireframes on a UI acceptable level, and being able to communicate this with potential users and ask them, is this useful? How would you use it? What are you missing? And so that will be definitely the next step. So work in progress. Here again, so here we need again some type of product health overview, whether it be this with these parts or whatever it is. But it would be interesting to kind of see, what are the cycles, what's the history, how many cycles has it gone through, for instance. This is basically a way to understand what is going on. And so you should be able to see this on a product level, but also like on a parts level. And then you can see these different services. So I'm just going to jump to the customer point of view. So if you're a customer and you go to the web shop, so you would just have something like this, where you can say, hey, I want to buy this item. So you say that, your quantity and stuff like that. But then here for a circular sunglass, it will be more something like this. So you would say, I have this circular sunglass. This is the model black. And so the base price is €3.50. And so in this price, you get a new pair every 36 months. You can come by the shop for free adjustments. Once a year, you also get a free cleaning service. And there's a basic insurance, meaning that if it gets broken or stolen, you have to pay $30 and then you get a new one. So that's basically what you would usually get. And then you have a few optional services where you say, I also want to have premium insurance. So you don't have to pay any contribution if it gets stolen or broken. You can get like a sunglass case, a second pair, or a swap service where for €1 extra a month, you can come in and just swap it out for any other one you want. This is, of course, is a hypothetical, but that's basically the way it would be, is that you, for instance, if it would be for this sunglass company, we would be able to say, this is what it costs per month. And whenever you click one of these services, it adds up in your total cart, and then that becomes your subscription. All right. To go back to the admin, so of course we would then have all of your main products, and then in the products you have all of your individual products that you could see. For some companies, maybe they only have 10 black sunglasses, maybe they have 100,000. Those are scopes and volumes that we still have to see about how flexible the system is or will be. But I think the interesting part here is that you can also go deeper into the parts and really think about planning and producing to order, because when we talk about circularity and sustainability, it's really about minimizing redundancy. And I think a system like this should be a tool to be able to manage this or be able to cope with it. So that's the product detail. Of course, you also need to be able to add a product. So I just found some nice examples here, where this is from a shoe store, but the idea of saying, you have your main image, a image gallery, and then you've got some different text fields. So here it's about adding a product, the life expectation per product in years or months. You can add the parts, and each part also has, of course, its life expectation. Pictures, gallery, description, the quantity of stock, or you can say we only produce to order. The service fields that we just saw, for instance, with the sunglasses. These services can either be bundled or separated. Then, of course, you have product variations, which can come to an additional fee. So you can say, these sunglasses, you can also have it inscribed, or you can also have something cool done to it for additional fees. Shipment options, so pickup or delivery, and maybe some legal requirements. Because I guess some companies might be afraid that this subscription might be a gateway to, more like a rental model, where people only use it for one weekend and then try to send it back. So I guess here you can make some legal constraints to say you need to take at least 3 months. This can also be like actually a cool thing where you say just rent it for the summer if you want. Yeah, so that's the main thing. Of course, I don't know if that will be for the MVP, but we can also add some more in-depth things, such as what is the cost of the product for you as a producer, what is the price of the parts, and then also these life values. So here it's the first step towards that material engine, for which I think now it is too soon to really dive into, but it could be a way to already add some financials, especially if you want to, in the main dashboard here, want to have this overview of what is our cash flow, or how much profit or loss are we making in that specific week or month. So that's going on here. All right. Let me check how the chat is doing. How are you going to collect enough capital in order to make CS a reality? I am now talking to different investors. The main thing is that I've split up the software from the fashion, because I mean, in the ideal thing, Kazusui is kind of like a way of life, or for like-minded people who just want to have good stuff for good prices in a circular, sustainable fashion. So for the software now, actually, I'm hoping to work together with a few friends of mine to be able to make this MVP. So we would basically, based on things like Airtables, or Airtable, WooCommerce, Shopify, whatever, make a first prototype, make it workable, and then work together with a few startups to, in small scale, test the system. And then if I have a few, it can be even just 2 or 3 customers, if they are paying and have a working prototype, then go to a manufacturer and say, to an investor, and then say, hey, I want to scale. I think I have a product market fit. So I need some capital to grow. So I think that's probably the best timeline. And then for the fashion, I'll get to that in a second, how we do that financially. So a fourth screen. Let me just take a sip of water. So the fourth screen here is the part about the orders. So this is basically now the MVP version of warehouse and fulfillment, where it's about basically just having an overview of what's being done. I just found here, what I liked here is the idea of being able to expand a order and see what's being ordered, because this will also show you about the services, for instance. Here I like this idea of having this live status of, is it being dispatched, is it pending, or is it completed? This one is kind of nice here with the text, but wasn't great. But for us, I think the main thing here for us to do is that we need to be able to fulfill or see which orders have to be fulfilled. So basically meaning it's been paid, it's ready to go, it just has to be shipped. And then the second part is the ones that have to be produced. So whenever there's not enough stock, it should have a separate aspect where it pings saying, hey, somebody has ordered this, but there's no stock available. This has to be produced to order. I think this is maybe still my most naive part of the system. But this should basically be the easy or the MVP version of the warehouse and fulfillment, where very small companies that have low volumes, they should be able to use this, show them the people who work in a warehouse or their partner who works in a warehouse, give them access to this part of the backend, so they can actually just do the fulfillment. They will be able to see, or they should be able to then connect this to, for instance, a DHL or a postal service to say, okay, we need a label printed for this person, and it can then automatically generate the shipping label. There's plenty of plugins for that. So that's basically the MVP workable aspect of the warehouse and fulfillment. And then of course we can add some metrics. I'm not sure how deep I should go here in this first MVP phase, but it is an interesting way to see. Then, for whatever reason, the background disappeared here. Then we go to the CRM. The The main part here is, of course, that it's an MVP, so it's really not meant to be something too fancy. Of course, you would want to be able to see how many members do I have, how many people have made an account, but for instance, quit their subscription. Ideally, we can already connect this somehow to retargeting engines and really be this a addition to your SEO and SEA and social media and whatever efforts. But in the main essence, it should just be a table with a lot of these email addresses with an export button for MailChimp or whatever you want to use for your emails. But then I think what would be a very cool feature, I don't know if it's going to be viable, but that's that when you click a name, for instance here, Jane Doe, you would then be able to zoom in. And this is like, for instance, what you would also see in a sales pipeline type or like sales drive or whatever software you want to use. But basically, you have your profile of your customer with their info, maybe some financial info as well, like how good of a customer are they. But then what would be very, very cool is to have some type of like ledger here of what's been happening. So payments, tickets, maybe things that have gone wrong, order histories. I think that would be cool to have here. And also, for instance, if this is a good customer that you can say, hey, this Christmas, reminder to ourselves to send them something extra special, or I don't know, people can use this in the way they want. But I think this is an interesting way to get more personal and more accessibility to your CRM and add some quality data to your quantitative data here. So yeah, I think this shouldn't be much more functionality, I guess, here. If you guys have an idea that I'm missing here for the CRM aspect, then feel free to let me know. The tickets, as you can see, it's kind of low priority here. The main essence is just that if a customer has a subscription and, for instance, something goes wrong, so say their sunglasses are broken or stolen, they have to be able to very easily ask you, hey, what's up? What can I do? Of course, you can just work with emails if you want to. But I think it would be very interesting to have this ticket system where if one of your customers has an issue, it kind of pops up here on top saying like, hey, this is a new error. Somebody has to be assigned to it, or somebody has to do something with it. And basically, it just creates a chat or an email chain, or doesn't have to be anything too fancy. I think right now, you just have to be able to see, which tickets are active and which ones have been archived, and I think that's fine. Of course, ideally, this would also then be connected to here the CRM, but yeah, that seems to be sufficient, but also a bit low priority. Then here for the reports, I think I don't know if this really is actually necessary for this MVP, but it could be interesting for you as a business owner to be able to see more in depth, what's going on. If you have a little bit of these financial metrics, so maybe you can see what is the value of my stock right now, how many replacements have to come, how many of my stock parts are unhealthy or have to be exchanged soon. All these things, I don't know how difficult it will be technically to do this, but I think it could be interesting to have this, but definitely something like Jonas asked to be validated. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any ideas what we could do more with a report or export option here. Yeah. Jonas is already he's already commenting. So he says the MVP is missing maybe a bit of the M. It already sounds like a fully integrated, fleshed out, featured-rich platform, which is great to sell and brainstorm. But what will you offer first? Yeah, I guess maybe I can reverse the question to you. What do you think we should build first? I think the main thing is that we need a bit of a scope here to be able to pitch to customers, especially these first pilot companies, to say, hey, we've got this idea of a platform to do this. What do you think is most critical? But I think for the technical aspect, we have to think about, especially just here in the adding the products and the health of these products. the parts of these products, like maybe the parts can be waited for, and we just do it on a product level, yeah, to be defined. But I'm curious to hear what you think. So I'll come back to the comment section in a second. And here this will be shorter, so the customer point of view of the system. So like I said, I mean, this should just be a simple front end where it's just about plugging into existing e-commerce platforms, but then focusing on this circular aspect of adding services and stuff like that. So this we already went through. Then when you have your own dashboard, so when you log into your own system, you should have your account, your subscriptions subscription tickets, messages, your order shipments, maybe billing and promotion. But ultimately here should just be an overview of what have you paid, what do you have, and is everything up to date? Like for instance, if you would move and you would have a recurring subscription to I don't know, like cereal, then you would want to of course have it be shipped to your new address. So this is, I mean, relatively straightforward. But the idea here was nice to also have a very easy, flexible way of upgrading or downgrading your subscription. So if you say you have 2 sunglasses, but now you just feel like one, you can just click it down and then say, hey, I want to order a shipment back. And then DHL can come bring you a return box, or you can just drop it off at the company. Here's subscription. Yeah, just examples. So that should be possible. And then the third part, I just like this UI here because it's so clean. Just a way, for instance, to see your order tracking, where it is, where it should have been. Just looked very cool, or very slick. So that's in a nutshell my idea now about not in a nutshell, but this is kind of like what I'm aiming towards or thinking about for the first version of the software. So the usability is critical, for sure. It should be very, very simple to use. It shouldn't be like some engineered or over-engineered system. It's really just about, it should be Shopify level of use. Agreed, Jonas. I think we indeed need to let the clients and owners choose which ones have the biggest pain, or which functions would relieve them of the biggest pains and give them the biggest value. So my idea is indeed now with these screens to have them actually professionally designed, because I'm not a designer. I kind of look like a mosaic artist now. But in this totality, I think with these screens I can go to a few potential customers, kind of get the feedback of what is really necessary for this first part. And start with that, and then these can be already the first blocks after for the development backlog after. Let me see. BW817 says 817. I mean, like during the COVID pandemic, whenever it may end, might be end of retail and death of offline service design. Yeah, exactly. For sure. I mean, I think that there's a big change now of more and more companies looking into this, offering their products as a service. Maybe this is a good bridge to the second parts of the logistics. So in my previous presentation or video, I showed this presentation. I didn't open it in advance. Let's see if it loads. So I pitched this to bpost, basically being a reusable box with a QR code. So instead of using these cardboard boxes and you use it once and you throw it out, why not use a return system where these boxes can be continually used? So a producer, so for instance, Nespresso with their Nespresso cups, they could fill one of these boxes with new capsules. They scan the code at the warehouse saying, hey, C-post, circular post. This is a box that has to go to this client. When he gets there, erase the QR data, And then the client there can say, hey, I've got some empty capsules, put it into the box, and then give it back to the mailman. The mailman then brings it back to Nespresso, and they can recycle or reuse the capsules. So basically just a reusable box. It's nothing extremely innovative there. That could be connected to some type of app that works both B2B and B2C, where people can basically order a new box or see where they can pick up boxes to use. So, I mean, this is too much detail for now, but it's basically an API that can function between the e-commerce of a company and their warehouse and fulfillment, and then combine it with the existing, like in Belgium, we have the bpost, but it should be connected to the actual systems there. But basically, it's just a rotation system. So I pitched it to bpost, and they said, super cool, we want to do this, but in 2023, which is too long from here. So I literally sent the same presentation to DHL, and I told them, hey, I sent this to bpost, or I presented this to bpost, but it's not a priority at this moment. I think you guys are more agile and faster. Can you guys do this with me? Actually, this afternoon, I had my second call with DHL, with the strategic director. And they're actually very interested to do this. So I actually have a interest from them to do this. What they have asked me is that they say, we cannot start in Belgium, because in Belgium we don't do B2C. We focus on B2B in Belgium. So I would need to find partners in Holland who would be willing to test this idea of the circular service, where we use these reusable boxes. And then they will actually help us with the return logistics. So either having an app or a API protocol where people can, through the sites of, for instance, the sunglasses, if they say, hey, one of my sunglass parts is broken, that they will also be able to give you a box that you can give back to DHL. And they will then integrate that into their system to get a truck to come by you, to come pick up your package. Of course, I mean, if it fits into a mailbox, you just bring it to a mailbox. But if it's too big for a mailbox, they should come pick it up. So they're willing to actually do this pilot partner with us to create this circular logistical system. But the thing we have to see is, how can we do this with the lowest risk and the highest chances of learning and success? Because I mean, it's one part to actually to find a partner who is willing to do this. But for instance, he said that they already work together with Nespresso. But the thing is, they are now working with bags. But if they wouldn't use bags but these boxes, then they would have to clean the boxes, because apparently it's just super dirty. So we need to find a few niches of companies that are having recurring shipments to and from their clients. So this could be like a Zalando, but in smaller. That have clients in Holland and would want to test this with us. So to create this box fleet system, or in Dutch they would say emballage, and ideally within a niche where there's also a high willingness to contribute. So also for clients who say, we want to be sustainable, we want to be circular, we want to do that extra effort of sending things back. So for this, if you have any ideas, then let me know. So in the chat, PW817 says, so you can use the software as a vehicle in order to achieve this core message of Kazasui as a company. I mean, the software is the thing that I saw that when I started with the idea for the fashion, this we'll get into in a second. My idea was, how do I manage a fleet of floating items, so of having pieces of fashion go around with people being used and reused. So I looked into the different software aspects, but could just not find anyone offering a service off the shelf. So I did some digging, and then I saw that the reason why it is so complex is because of this weird hybrid between these different systems of CRM, ERP, asset management, whatever. And the market is just too small at the moment to do this. Also combined with the fact that for SMEs to actually make something like this, it will cost like 200,000 euros to produce or to develop. And they're just not sure enough yet if they want to go circular, if they can go circular, especially when it comes to like financial situations where it's about the liquidity of the company. So instead of having immediate sales and immediate money, you get it back over an extensive period of time. So it's really these type of reasons why I think a lot of companies are afraid to jump into circularity. But I think the idea of I have my own products that I can use for my own software, and combining that in order to get the ball rolling to have other people use my software, then that's definitely what I hope to do. Yeah. So the follow-up question: but shouldn't you also look at the statiegeld boxes? Like people need to clean them and get bonus points, kind of part of the deal. Yeah. So that's actually the thing DHL was asking me as well, is about how can we do it in a way that we have the least amount of sanitization, if that's a word, to be done in the logistics, because they already have some experiences of doing some B2B reusable boxes, and whenever there's something about fresh, so anything food or dirt or whatever, it's just really a really big hassle. So it should definitely be something simple. But then when we go to B2C, I think it's also an interesting discussion to think about. Should it be a incentive part? So should it be about incentivizing people to send things back? Or should it actually be like a penalty system where it's about if you do not send the box back or do not reuse it, then you have to pay us, €3 or €10 or something for us to basically get the cost back of the crate or the box. Because that's also for DHL one of the biggest concerns is that, this is a financial thing about OPEX and CAPEX, but you don't want to have too much of these things just floating around and not coming back. So there has to be some type of incentive system, but whether punishing is better, financial incentives are better, or just in general bonus point incentives, could be anything. It's definitely something we have to look into, combined with the niche, with the sanitizing aspects. There are different things we have to jump into. So if you have any incentives, Jonas says, probably works better, I guess, especially if you're trying to be a do-good company. But it's also why, for instance, I think Nespresso is maybe not the best company, because anyone and everyone uses these cups, so there's not like a specific niche of users that we can use. But if you would have if you would have a certain brand where people feel super involved with the brand, then they would probably also would have a higher incentive to be part of the cycle and feel responsible for it. So I think that's also something in finding a partner for this logistical aspect that we have to find. Jonah says, I hate companies that fine me for sending back their packages too late and I end up not using them anymore. Yeah, exactly. So definitely, I think it's also a volume question, because once there's enough packages going around in the world, or at least here in Europe or Belgium, Holland, there will be it will be more easy to have a rotate. But whenever we work within a certain niche, we cannot go too fast, too broad, because then if we lose all of the boxes within the first 10 days and nothing comes back, or only 10% comes back, then it's a very heavy price to pay. PW says maybe you can talk or take a look at Backpack, a Rotterdam startup. Do you have a let me see, Backpack. Yeah, so there are a few startups around. I don't think this is it. Rotterdam. Shared packaging. Okay, I don't see a lot. There are quite some things here. You've got a Repack. They're both in Holland and Denmark now. They basically use these type of sleeves, so to speak. It's mostly for fashion. There's also the Living Box in France. This is really crazy. This box costs €100 to make, not retail price. And has like an LCD screen in it and everything. It's ridiculously over-engineered. It looks super slick. apparently it's from this guy who did an exit and didn't know where to put his money in, so he did this. But yeah, I mean, it's the same philosophy, but then in my eyes, completely over-engineered. Yeah, and their business model is that you pay €2 per delivery. So you can just use the box for free, and then they ask for €2. But in my eyes, if you have €2 for the box, and then you have another 4, 5, 6 euros for the DHL or the whatever transitory company, it's way too expensive. Yeah. But yeah, so there are a few companies out there already, but I haven't seen something as simple as just, I mean, I just need a box. Kind of like what the Swiss people did. They use these boxes, B2B. So there's also like a circular system where they just have different labels on top. So they just put label on label on label. Yeah, I mean, it's simple. I would say we need something like this. Maybe less yellow, but. Do you have a link, PW, for the circular startup? It's kind of, yeah, you cannot share a link here, so you have to do it kind of cryptically with a dot, like write it out in letters and not with a dot. Okay, for the last part, to dive into the fashion, and I'll get back to the box in a second if PW finds it. I'm just going to give you guys a bit of background before I dive in too deep. So, I hope you guys are all okay, by the way. Looking at Instagram as well. Actually, I cannot see if there's even people listening. I just see PW and Jonas typing once in a while. So for the fashion, so the idea behind it actually came to be in the fact that currently in the fashion industry, everyone knows this fast fashion is wrong. You know, we are now producing so many clothes. They're all trying to be as cheap as possible, as fast as possible. So hype after hype after hype. I mean, all of the H&Ms, what's the worst one called again? The €1 shop. But they're just pumping out textiles, and for them it's more expensive to ship it to China or to Africa where people could actually use it. They just burn whatever they overproduce. I mean, it's quite crazy. I don't think I have to educate you guys on why the fashion is bad. But the people now within this fashion industry, I think I see three main camps of people working on it. So on the first camp, you've got people who are working on the material side of innovation. So this is really focused on nano protection, on biological cottons, on natural ways of dyeing clothes into certain colors. I mean, there's all these type of things really focused on the materials. Then we have a group of people who are focusing on the end of life of fashion. So they're very much focusing on okay, we are producing too much and people do only wear it 1 or 2 years and then they throw it out. So they're trying to like stitch things together and use the fabrics, like making the fabrics loose again, and then using the fabrics to make pillows or cushions, whatever. So they're trying to do something with it, but that's all end of life. So it's not really solving a problem, or the problem is solving the result of the problem. And then in the middle, there are a few players that are now focusing on the business model. So people focusing on, rental models. You've got the Project Runway here. Oh, that's the show, but Rent the Runway. So this is companies that where you can basically, for a certain membership fee, you get these clothes. You can wear them for either 1 month or eternity, and then you can even do like a weekend subscription where you can rent things for a weekend if you want, for a party or something. I mean, this is all really cool. You've got also like a fashion library in cities where people can come physically to see the pieces and exchange them for their own. And I think all of these ideas are good, but they are ultimately also not really solving the problem, because they just use semi-fast fashion or fast fashion garments that are still produced too much and too often. So the idea behind the fashion of Kazusui was that I wanted to basically bridge the whole system. So in the industry of product design, they use this thing called design for disassembly or cradle to cradle design, or whatever the hype word is. But the idea about if we want the materials, the parts of the product that we are making to last as long as possible, we also have to produce it and manufacture and design it in a way that we know that we can use it later on in the chain as well. And so this for product, it means, for instance, not using glue, because if you glue things together, you cannot separate them anymore. It's about having easy access to actually repair things or maintain things. And so I wanted to start there. So how do we actually create a collection of fashion garments that are designed for disassembly, that are designed to basically be able to last long? I think now my aim is to create a collection of clothes that can last 20 years or more. And that's actually a thing that I've heard now more and more, is that for those who are into vintage fashion, that if you look into like very high quality things that are made in 1930, 1940, 1950s, back then they would much rather have one pair of jeans that just lasted forever. And they were just they were just made of super, super high grade denims and stuff. That they are still looking better after 40 years than like a 2-week-old H&M pair of jeans. And so it's basically this way that I wanted to see, can we go back to that system of creating these very, very high-grade materials for fashion in a way that they can last very long. But of course, the thing is that they cannot be static, because if you would get a sweater or a t-shirt and then it's slim fit, and then 2 years later it's kind of cool to have a wide fit, then it doesn't really match your identity anymore, or it doesn't match the zeitgeist. And so the second part is that, in this philosophy of this fashion, is that it lasts for 20 years. It's a subscription, so you use our clothes, but you never own them. And then the idea is basically that in the subscription that we have access to, or that you get access to, making it your own and making it alive. Basically meaning that the clothes that we are creating, they're very easy to alter. So it will be easy to make it wider, shorter, longer. For instance, also for pants, if there's another Corona lockdown and people are getting fat again, should be easy to be able to make it a bit wider and a bit tighter. It's this way of thinking of how can we create a collection that is basically alive, that constantly evolves with you as the user, without limiting itself to zeitgeist or to fashion hypes and cycles. Because ultimately, when you think about the essentials that you are using, denim jeans, simple t-shirts, simple sweaters, simple pants, all of these things, they don't change in a major way. It's usually just the way you wear it, so rolling up, rolling down, having it a bit looser, having it a bit tighter. So the idea is to work around this, and I'll dive in there in a second. Okay. Yeah. So PW, if you find them anywhere, then let me know. Then it would be interesting to talk to them. So back to the fashion. So the main thing where we started was this is some mood boards from our first work, where it's about very earthly things. It's about very minimalist, strong. Maybe this is still a bit too masculine, but the main thing is just to kind of avoid BS and kind of like have it nice, but also mood wise, somewhere between going to work early in the morning and coming back burnt out, but still feeling good about how you are wearing your clothes. It's a bit about mystique, a bit about adventure. And we really like this idea about not using too much contrast. So really focusing, this is like the idea of using embos and debos in the packaging, but where we really want to focus on simplicity. And so the basic concept came to life of the uniform. So the idea is that every morning we wake up and we have to decide what do we wear. And so we think about, okay, so I have a meeting with this type of person, and then after I have a meeting with this type of person. For him, I really want to look good. For her, I don't really care about. And so we basically go through this this way in the morning of figuring out what to wear. And then we combine things. We have to make sure that the colors match. We have to make sure that our shoes match. And so there's all of these micro decisions we have to take that I think are very distracting. Now, to kind of take it to the meta level of consumption, I think it's useless to have 30 tabs of toothpaste in the supermarket. And I think it's the same when it comes to fashion, where you can get so much more, so much more space in your head in the morning if you don't have to worry about these fashion aspects. So the idea is to basically create this uniform where all of the pieces in the collection, they always match. So there will never be a certain combo that does not look good together, either style-wise or material-wise or color-wise. And so main thing, this is the beginning idea of saying, okay, so we want to have like simple layers, thick materials, something that is somewhere between smart casual, but it should be presentable, but it should also be still kind of relaxed. So this is basically where we started out, and we had some ideas about this uniform, getting some ideas about simplicity, like a policeman, he puts on his uniform in the morning and he's a policeman. My aim is really with this collection to give you that feeling of I can walk into the closet, I can grab whatever I see, I can put it on, and I can just feel very confident about how I look and how I feel that day. And of course, these are going to be super high grade materials that we are going to work with, so they're going to feel and look very, very good on you as well, because it's not going to be some flimsy, cheap material just to get you bought. So there are 3 innovations here that we are looking at. So one here, this is a fairly simple one. But when you have, for instance, in your jeans or in your sweaters, like on the inside of on your sides, this is where your fabrics come together. And so in this part, the idea is to add extra fabric. So whenever the fashion changes from slim fit to wide fit, you can actually just go to one of our partner ateliers, so the people who can sew clothes, make clothes. They can go there and ask them, hey, can you make it a bit wider or make it a bit more slim? And because it has extra fabric, you can actually do this quite easily. And actually, how you can do that, there's this company in Antwerp, and basically what they've created is a solvable thread. So here, what we just saw with these threads that basically combine the 2 pieces of fabric, they made it in a way that it can actually become solvable, so it becomes liquid. So instead of having to do some very time-intensive and complex disassembly of these individual needles or these individual things with a heat gun, or just basically like a hair, basically like a... my live video ended. But basically with a... back. So basically with a hair dryer, you can actually dissolve these threads. So when a seamstress just wants to adjust like the side so it can make it a bit wider, they can just with a hair dryer just liquefy it and then see, okay, so where do we put the new stitches, and then re-stitch it back together with the same type of threads, and then that way you're very easily, very fastly helped. All right, Jonas, thanks. All right, so PW says 6 is going to be a capsule collection. Yeah, exactly, permanent capsule. That's exactly it, yeah. But I think PW is Petro now. Amen. So this the idea here of having these extra fabrics here to be able to make it more flexible, and then in the flexibility be able to connect these things together. So that's this is a good innovation for us to use to make it easier to disassemble. And then the second part is here having the extra fabric. I mean, it's not rocket science; it's just logic. And in the fourth part, basically we want to work with different levels. There's actually a fourth level, but it's a bit of a detail. But The first level here is the personals. So these are items that you don't want to have recycled, in the sense that they shouldn't go back into the cycle. So these personal items, socks, underwear, they're too hygienic sensitive to put back into reuse. So nobody else should use other people's underwear. So basically the aim here is to make it last as long as possible. These lifespans are too short, by the way. We've been updating them now since we've been looking at the actual materials. But the personal items, so basically the aim there is that we make it as long as possible. There's a company in Belgium called Bamboo Belgium, and they basically make biocompostable fabrics. So it's made of bamboo, the fibers, and you can basically just basically bury it, and it decomposes very quickly, and it's relatively okay for the environment. So that's our backup plan. But ideally, we can actually receive these back from the people, and we can then use the fibers of this for instance, packaging for maybe like the inside of a coat, where we can actually say, hey, this is these boxer shorts are actually going to become the inside pocket of a coat. Then we have the essentials. This is the main capsule. This is really what it's about. So this is probably going to be about 10 different items. We'll see in a second a few of them already in the sketch form. But the main thing here is that that this is your main collection. So saying your pants, your jeans, stuff like that. This stays yours, so you can use it as long as you want. And so whenever you adjust them, they will stay that way until you readjust them to be slimmer or wider or whatever you want them to be. You just use these as long as you want, but you can also at all times ask for a replacement. And what happens then is that we basically create a second line of essentials that are pre-used or pre-loved. And that's very much where the 20 plus years of use are going to kick in. Because the essentials will have like a premium layer, so a layer of people who just want to have all of the items new. So it's basically they're freshly made, but then to last super long capsule. But then when people send things back, we are actually going to start also offering these pre-loved items as a service. So also students on a lower budget, or just people in general with a lower budget, they can also get access to these essentials, and with these people, we can actually go through long cycles of use. I hope ultimately up until 20 years, depending on the item. But that's basically the idea here. So you would have a premium essential line, which is all new, and that's where we will also start, hopefully in January, selling these subscriptions of the premiums. And then later on we will have the pre-loved ones, or whatever the fancy name will be then. So that's the second level. And then the third level here, that's the biggest part of the innovation. Actually, it's the idea to create a floating items collection, meaning that for you to have a subscription with us, we don't want to give you the feeling that you're basically just paying for the clothes in different steps, or like leasing them like you would lease a car. It should really be an experience. So the idea here is to actually have a floating fleet of garments, where we send you every month or every 2 months, we send you 1 or 2 new items, and you basically get to test them. So you can see, hey, do I like this coat? Do I like this dress? Do I like this, whatever it is that we send you? And if you really like it, you can add it to your essentials. So it becomes a part of your capsule. But if you're not really intrigued by it, you're not really interested in it, you can always just send it back. And then we of course clean it, and then we make sure that it goes to the next one. And so in this way, we kind of like want to have people evolve in their capsule as well. That maybe they have a sweater that they really like, but after a while they kind of like would like to have a different type of sweater. But it will stay within our cycles. So this idea of having some more engagement, having some surprises, having people still have the sensation of having something new, saying like, I've got this new coat, I want to see how it looks with the jeans, with the this, with the that. So that's basically the idea here, also on a business level, to innovate. And so all of these items, there will be certain services that we can offer. So in your subscription, it will include washing once a year. It will include, so washing, I mean like professional, having it steamed and stuff like that. Every probably year or 2 years, the recoloring of your garment. So especially if you have blacks and dark blues, of course you want to have it re-dyed every once in a while. So we're looking at ways how we can do the most biologically friendly, but also in that way we can keep the garments as fresh as possible for the users. And of course repairs are going to be included. And then with the adjustments, we're now thinking about offering, for instance, that you can say you get one adjustment for free per month. So you can go to one of our partner seamstresses. You can go there saying like, "Hey, this is my user ID for the Kazusui project. Can you make my T-shirt wider, please?" And so then you really get this experience of, this is your stuff. You can make something from it. You can do nothing with it if you want. But in that sense, it really can become yours. And so whenever we have the pre-loved essential line, I also really think it could be interesting to have people be more creative with them. So maybe people would like to have a white sleeve on a black shirt, or they want to have a different color hood on their black jacket. I mean, these are the way. This is, I think, an interesting thing about using this ResortText technology is that people can be more creative as well later in the collection life. But just as long as the quality stays high, and of course we want these items to last as long as possible. All right. So just I'll just kind of browse through the different collections that we've made. So this is the first round. So here with the personal items, some underwears, socks, swimwear, maybe. This is like the first idea. And basically what we saw here was that this was too corporate. So we had a few ideas here. This is just some random images to kind of like show what we liked, what we didn't like, and discuss these things. So I'm not going to go too much into detail here. But maybe this is kind of cool because this is kind of where it becomes more clear. So I hope that the designer of this is not going to kill me for showing this, Kjell. I don't know if you're listening. So this is very much a work in progress. But as I said, this weekend or after this weekend, we'll have a bigger update with a lot more details and working more clear ideas of what it's going to be. But maybe also important to say when it comes to these garments, so it's actually going to be as much as possible gender neutral. So it's going to be 80% gender neutral, and then there will be some 10% specific for men and 10% specific for women. But for all of the garments, really in the designing of it, we are really focusing on making sure that it looks good on both men and women and looks feminine enough and masculine enough. So it's not like men would be ashamed to wear it or women would feel ashamed to wear it. And also that if you're a size bigger or a size smaller, that it would still be possible to wear for you without having it look funny or weird. So the idea now of the main capsule would be a light jacket. So the main inspiration for this was this jacket here, where we really like the asymmetrical clothing here. Then we have a tapered, or the trousers here with I forgot the name of this thing. And this is also then something that can be somewhere between casual and formal, depending on what you do with your with the end of your pants, how high you wear them, what you wear on top of it, of course. The denim jacket, that's definitely like a must, which will be very straightforward. And actually, we're going to work together with this company, Honest. They're I think a Mechelen-based or Antwerp-based company that produce very biological jeans. They have a really cool process. I mean, you should check this out if you don't know them. But they're hopefully going to be helping us with actually the making and the choosing of the materials here of the jeans, of the denims. The denim jeans, of course, then it's going to be relatively straightforward. These are again not the actual designs; these are the first sketches. But it's going to be very straightforward. Then we have a t-shirt, a shirt. So this will be kind of like a uniform shirt where it has the 2 pockets. And for women, this will also have a longer version. So it's the same model, but a longer version. So women can also wear this as a shirt dress. Then we have a simple t-shirt, and the t-shirt will have a little bit of a high neck, a little bit of a relaxed fit. It won't be this relaxed and it won't be this slim, but it will be somewhere in between. And then we have to be smart about the seams because of this disassembly aspect. So we have to make sure that it remains disassemblable, if that's a word. We have the sweater. It will be relatively straightforward here. A tank top for both men and women. So this is something that will differ from men to women because not a lot of men have boobs. Sweatpants. And actually the sweatpants here, the idea that we saw in this aspect is that we should ultimately go towards a homeware collection as well. So that will actually be that 4th level. So we've got the personals, the essentials, so that's your core capsule, and then we'll also add a module of homeware, which is somewhere between, you can walk the dog, you can chill at home, you can maybe go jogging in it, whatever your day type is. But it's more aimed at relaxed fits and materials. Then here are a bit more the details. So here in the denim jacket, so straightforward. We're thinking about having this patch, maybe not on the outside, but on the inside. It then becomes like if you have a car and it has like your maintenance schedule, to actually have it as well in your shirt, so we can kind of see what is the history of your denim jacket, because these things can last forever. And then we have the coat, and then here with the coat we are also thinking about adding like a detachable hoodie. So also for if you want to transform it into more of a raincoat, as you can do it that way. Then we have the t-shirt. It's going to be relatively straightforward, of course, but like I said, somewhere between the fits, but with a higher neck. The sweater, also slightly higher neck, kind of a relaxed fit. The shirt, which we saw, it won't be too tailored, relatively straightforward. Then the denim jeans. So it's kind of like resembling the 501s, the Levi's, the straight cut. Not as wide as this one, more kind of like this one. Then the trousers. So here's really about finding this balance between, it should look somewhere between chic and casual, depending on what you do. For instance, here at the end of rolling it up, maybe having a cool belt there. So that will be this part. The tank top, like we just discussed. Sweatpants. It's going to be very cool. Yeah, so this is all work in progress. There's actually a new slide deck coming soon, also with the colors and both for male and female figures to kind of see how they both feel on it, and also so we can see how all of the colors and materials match. So that will be for the next line. Also, we'll have more details about the technicalities of how can we actually make these things work together. How are we technically going to make it more flexible and modular? But that will be for the next phase. I'm just going to see if there's any questions here. I don't know if even someone is watching, since this is a live stream. But if there are no questions, then I think I'm going to stop here. Actually, we are now, for the fashion, we are now hoping to, towards the end of this month, to have the technical drawings ready so we can actually start making the prototypes. When we make the prototypes of the clothing, we can use them for the marketing and PR, and in this also then make the photo shoot, have video tutorials about how we can actually do this disassembly, work for disassembly. More information soon on this project. As you can see, it's starting to take shape and become more clear. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Also for those tuning in later and watching it later. I don't know how long I've been streaming now. An hour and a half. Wow. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed the update instead of having to read a really long post. If you guys have any other questions or remarks, then just post them here either on YouTube or just send me an email, or do whatever you want to do. Here's my impressions thing. Just wait a few more seconds just in case. Are you going to think about, Peter was asking, are you going to think about a theme in choosing the colors like earthy or artsy? I mean, that's ultimately up to the designer, Kjell. I think it's going to be very, sober or minimalistic in that sense that we don't want to be too high fashion here because if people are going to be if it's going to be too niche, not enough people are going to be able to use this as their capsule. And here, really, the promise is the capsule aspect. But I think in the future, it would be very cool to have a more high fashion line, to have maybe like a sportswear brand as well. I mean, there's different ways to go and different styles to look into. I think the main equilibrium that has to be found is this balance between what is cool, what do people really want to wear, but also what is innovative enough or cool enough to actually be remarkable enough and high quality enough to pay for if you are on a monthly subscription basis. So there will be a balance to keep. All right, I think this was it for today. You can already hear my voice getting a bit hoarse or whatever you say. Thanks again for tuning in, and let me know if anything of this gives you any ideas or if you have any input or connections or network for me, then let me know. And then, see you guys soon again. Bye.